And Chad, what would you say to people on the call that they're extremely proficient with firearms? They've been training with guns their whole lives. They have multiple training certifications with guns, but they have very limited barehanded self-defense capability. I know some people, they feel like, well, I don't need to, know how to fight because I have my gun. What would you say to them about the importance of knowing how to fight with their hands?
Yeah, well, for sure. I mean, the reality is this, and I relate everything to, I call it mat time. In jiu-jitsu, we have a saying, the mat don't lie. And that's why you need to be cocky or arrogant, because once we step on the mats, you're going to know their level and they're going to know your level. So, I always relate it to mat time. Like for me with shooting, the guys that I get to shoot with, man, they are black belts in shooting. They are awesome. And they shoot all day. And these guys, they teach me everything they know. They love me. They want to help me. I know they're showing me everything. It's not like they're hiding some secret technique. And I said, well, why aren't I as good a shot as them? Well, I know the formula. The formula is I have the great instruction. Now I just need to get more mat time. I need to get more rounds down range. So the more I do that, the better I'll be. So what I would say to that person is, you've already gotten really good at one aspect. But now we have to understand, okay, well, I got to be able to get to my gun, because the reality is this. If we're teaching civilians and even law enforcement, you're probably going to pull your pistol out and use it within, 10 feet. If you shoot somebody 20 yards away, you just murdered somebody. There's no reason, because they're not a threat that far. So that distance gets closed very fast. Everyone's heard of the 21-foot rule and things like that. Now, I agree and disagree with that. But my point is, you're going to be shooting and fighting within 10 feet. And the one thing, when I came in and started working with the different military and law enforcement groups, the problem that I saw was the shooting instructor was a great shooter, but he knew nothing about fighting. So he would have you stand one way. And then the DT instructor was a good fighter, but he really only did that. He wasn't a good shooter and wasn't good at anything else. Have you stand another way. And what I said was, from early on, and to be honest, for selfish reasons, I'd be like, hey, man, I need to learn how to shoot. I need to learn how to do the CQB, because, to be honest, I just thought it was really cool to learn. But honestly, the better I get at that, the better I can articulate to the operators, and the better I can understand what they're doing, because I can't go on the missions with them. These are the real heroes. These are the real badasses. I just try to help them if they get in trouble in that little niche. But the better I get at that, so for me, your shooting stance, your fighting stance, they have to be the same. You don't have time to switch feet. You don't have time to say, well, I got to stand here, I got to do this. It has to be the same. So we'll talk about that, and we'll go over why that's really important.
That makes a lot of sense. It's nowadays with YouTube and LiveLeak and these websites, you can see a lot of real-time examples, some security camera footage and stuff. And just recently here in South Florida, there was two guys that they were robbing a mechanic, an auto parts store. And the guy was sitting there, and he put the guy on his knees, put the gun behind his head, started pistol whipping him. And then a coworker walked in. The guy got distracted for a second. The assailant got distracted, and the guy went for the gun, wrestled the gun. The guy shot him once. He ate a shot, took the gun away from the guy, started shooting the guy. He shot him like 2-3 times, and the gun malfunctioned, and he couldn't clear the jam. And now the guy was on top of him, and they were like going hand to hand. And he ended up, the good guy ended up winning, but there was definitely like, there's at least 2 ranges involved there. You know what I mean? So
yeah, man. And I always tell people this. There's shooting, and then there's combat shooting. So it's kind of like jiu-jitsu. You have sport jiu-jitsu, and then you have jiu-jitsu for self-defense. And there's always that argument back and forth, but it's the same thing. So like with shooting, like going to the range with your buddy, shooting from 20 yards, having your magazine out, loading, going real easy, real slow, closing an eye and trying to aim. That's like a kata to me. It looks cool, and it's a skill set to have, but it doesn't really teach you how to fight. A kata doesn't teach you how to fight because there's no live resisting person. So it's the same thing. Like, I like combat shooting, where, you know, I'm going to be working magazine, I'm going to be working from my primary to my secondary. These are the kind of things that I like to do because I feel these are more realistic. I'm going to be able to fight somebody off. I'm going to be able to make a frame and then draw my weapon. I'm going to be shooting with my elbow tucked into my body. I'm not going to be able to come up to a full draw most of the time. And if you can, good, but what if you can't? So once again, and I always tell people this, I don't like bad-mouthing anybody, anything. The reality is this just adds to your arsenal. Whatever you already have, you're just going to add to that arsenal. And it's kind of like if you're an operator and you have a kit on. There's different tools on your kit. You got your med kit, you got your extra magazines, you got your comms, you got everything on there. You don't use everything all the time, but everything is there for a reason. Figure out, what is going to be our most high percentage things we're going to need to be good at, and we're going to have to be able to flow from range to range, and we're going to have to be able to pull out a different tool or technique very fast. And you can't think about it. It just has to flow. If you think about it, the move is gone.
It makes 100% sense to me. And Chad, another question. You've been working with a lot of law enforcement, military. Your system, how applicable is it also for like civilian self-defense?
Well, I mean, especially in this day and age, I mean, it's one of those things. Like, so for me, I live in Virginia. I have a concealed weapons permit. I always carry. Either my pistol or blade, normally both. And once again, it's not one of these things where, like, the reality is you have to go at your comfort level. I do it because I just like to be familiar with my weapon system. I don't go around thinking people are going to attack me everywhere I go, but it's like I tell people, I have a fire extinguisher in my house. I don't think it's going to burn down, but if it does, I'm not going to be able to run to the store and buy one and come back in time. If it's not on you, you're not going to be able to get to it. So, for the most part, like, when if you're talking about being in a full kit with your long rifle and your pistol, yeah, I mean, that's probably not going to be realistic, but it's just kind of cool to know. And you never know, like you said, when the zombie apocalypse hits. So,
zombies.
I tell people, listen, there's no, I know some people that, they're in their house and they got a gun on them at all times. I mean, listen, when you talk about, there's some gun nuts out there and nice guys, and I mean, I like doing this stuff, but the reality is this: I have a child in my house. I don't have my gun on me all the time. And people say, "Oh, well, you should." Yeah, I guess you should, but the reality is you have to go with what fits for you, what helps your comfort level. Like, I do a lot of women's self-defense classes, and I talk to them about, firearms, and some of them are like, "Oh, no, I hate guns." Okay, I would, explain to them how effective that tool could be, but if you're not going to carry one, you're not going to carry one. So would you carry a knife? I don't know. Would you carry a pencil? I mean, I'm a big fan of weapons. I'm a big fan of having something in your hand that allow you to create space to either get to another tool or to get away. So, it's one of those things. You have to go on your comfort level. I don't want to try to change people too much because some people they're not going to change. So I want to give them something.
And how are guns employed in your training techniques? Like because I know we're going to be working with a pistol, we're working with a rifle, and in what capacity are we going to be using these weapons? I believe we're going to be using these in not just for shooting, but also striking with the firearms themselves. Am I correct?
Yeah, I mean, this is, the reality is this is just kind of a cool course because, to be honest, I've never taught it to civilians. This is something I've only taught to military and law enforcement. And, I feel there's a lot of good American citizens out there that are they don't have the luxury of I do of being able to go to the courses that I used to be able to go to and work with the people that I get to work with. And, they need to know how to defend themselves. More guns, more people have bought guns since Obama's been president. And, they don't know how to use them. And, having a weapon and not knowing how to use it effectively is not a good thing. You must know how to use your weapon effectively. So this class is kind of cool because I really haven't seen a lot of it out there being taught. Normally, It's a very stagnant course. Don't ever take your firearm out of your holster. And for safety, we're going to be very safety precautious. 100% safety is the most important thing. But the reality is, you're going to have to know how to change a magazine while fighting. You're going to have to be able to know how to clear your weapon and clear a jam when you're fighting. You're going to have to be able to know if you need to hit somebody with that weapon. Well, how am I going to do it without jamming my firearm? How am I going to be able to draw my weapon if his hand's already on my gun? What's going to be the best way to do it? So these are some of the things that we're going to be able to go over. What's the most effective and efficient way to switch from my primary to my secondary in the least amount of time? So.
Awesome. And I know we got some people that are total noobs. Okay, they've never fired a gun before, and or never done any martial arts before, or both, and they're seeing this seminar and they're really interested in it. What would be the skill level that someone would need to participate in a seminar like this? Can they be a total noob, or do they have to have a certain amount of experience?
No, 100%, because we're going to go at your speed. One, I give a big shout out to Asymmetric Solutions. Those guys are, just top level, top notch, really nice guys. And the one thing I liked that they did was, for half the day it would be like, dry fire stuff. And then the other half, you'd actually be using your firearms and shooting. And I think it gives you a good chance in a very safe environment to practice these drills. Because, the thing for me is, I had the honor to shoot with a lot of, really good people. And I was told early on that, gun safety is very important. And it's always been very important to me. Because once you pull that trigger, you can't take that bullet back. So, we will definitely train in a safe environment, but we'll be doing things that you haven't done before on the range, that you're normally not allowed to do on the range. But they're going to help you, because in a fight, stagnant environment, you're not going to be able to just sit there. You're normally going to be drawing as somebody is grabbing you or punching you. So you're going to have to know how to react to that. And, I always use the 30-foot lake example. It's like, I always tell people, if somebody threw you in a 30-foot lake and you didn't know how to swim, what's going to happen? You're going to drown and die. You're going to flare around, you're going to waste energy, but you don't know how to swim, so you're going to sink to the bottom. So if somebody throws you into a lake, what's going to happen? Well, you just swim out because you know technique. So even if the coolest thing in the world is going on the shore, you're going to be like swimming, going, oh man, check that out. But if you're flaring around trying to save your life, you're not going to notice something over on the shore. So that's kind of how a fight is. If you don't know technique and you don't know what you're doing, you're going to freak out and you're going to go into freak out mode. And when you're in freak out mode, you're not doing things efficiently. And the only way you're going to win is just on raw, brute force. And you know what? Maybe you do win. But the reality is I don't want to rely on that. I think of my strength as my power, and my power as like my passing gear. I'll use it if I need it, but I can't use it for long or I'm going to run out of gas. So it's good to have if you have it. If you don't, you've got to pay extra special attention to the technique.
You know what? That's an incredible metaphor or analogy. I know when people start their first time in a grappling class and they're wrestling for the first time, it's just so sporadic and crazy. You don't even remember what happened in their training session. And now, as an experienced martial artist, the guy can be throwing punches at me and stuff. And if somebody walks in the door for information, I notice it right off the bat. Like I have complete awareness of what's going on around me. And
exactly. And look, is everyone going to get to your level? No, but you at your level could give them some basic things that could help them in a bad situation. And I'm sure you've said it before too. It's like if the first time you're in a fight is a real fight, you're screwed. Like, you're going to freak out because you're not used to it. So, so if the first time you go to draw your pistol when somebody is punching you or grabbing you, you're going to do things wrong and you're going to freak out. Like you could walk outside of your school right now, you could find the next two dudes shopping at the strip mall and you could put them to fight. One of them's going to win. But it doesn't mean you want that guy being your instructor. It just means he's bigger and tougher than that guy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
so that's okay.
Definitely.
But not everyone, you don't want to rely on that. So we want to have a nice set of tools to be able to create space. And so for me, everything, like, if I get in a fight, I'm not going to fist fight somebody. Like, that would be dumb. All I want to do is create enough space to get to my edge weapon, to get to my pistol. I want to use my skill set to be able to create space so I can draw much easier. And we're going to talk about controlling the inside of the fight. Now, a lot of people won't understand when I talk about underhooks, inside control. The reality is you understand this. Any basic wrestler understands how important having double underhooks is. If somebody gets double underhooks on you, you're like, oh, crap, I just lost the dominant position. So for me, a lot of people, it's like when you first watch a fight. It's like when I watch hockey. It's boring because I don't know the rules. I don't know what's going on. But if I knew what was going on, I'd be like, oh. So like when you watch the fights and two guys are on the ground, you're like, oh, dude, this sucks. They're rolling around. It looks weird. But for us, we're like, oh, he's cutting the knees, going to pass, got on the hook. So once you just understand these basic things, the average guy on the street knows nothing. So if you just control the inside of the fight, you're going to be able to get to a tool. You're going to be able to get to whatever you want. You're going to be able to create space. But if you have no idea what an underhook is, you're not going to be able to control the fight. And I don't want that.
I got only a couple more questions, Chad. This has been great, by the way. Earlier I asked you, what would you tell the gun expert that knows nothing about barehanded techniques? Well, along with having my firearms academy, I also have a martial arts school. So I have a lot of martial artists that are listening to this call. And for the people that are strictly martial artists that don't have experience with firearms or have a limited experience with firearms, what would you tell them about, coming to your Combatives Seminar?
Well, if you're doing martial arts for real self-defense, the thing about, so for me, my school is a self-defense school. Now, I got really good jiu-jitsu guys, and, they're phenomenal sport jiu-jitsu guys, and I love learning all that stuff. But when I come out to teach, I can kind of see they're like, oh, because I always show self-defense stuff. And they want to know the latest, Barambola, half-deep, half-guard pass. And I'm like, that's not, for me, realistic. And it's not that these guys wouldn't do okay in a street fight. But if I don't want to be in a deep half and somebody pulls out a knife and starts stabbing me in the neck. So I enjoy doing those things because it makes my base better. It's just, it gets you good at feelers. So I like these things. But if you're doing martial arts just for sport, then that's great. But if you really are doing it for self-defense, you don't want to drift too far down that sports side. So if you're doing it for self-defense, you have to realize range one isn't just punching and kicking. It's your edge weapon. It's a pencil. It's a pen. It's a wire. It's a bat. It's a machete. It's your pistol. It's your long rifle. The thing is, there's so many cool things to learn. Because there's so many. There's so many different ranges. And listen, I obsess about this stuff, right? And I'm watching videos. I still buy DVDs and. Most time I get them and I'm like, oh, crap, I wasted another $80. But if I can pick up one little nugget, it's worth it to me. But I was watching this YouTube video one time, and there's not much that throws me for a loop. I've pretty much seen a lot. And it was a video of a guy that got kicked out of a bar. And this is one that stumps me. I'm not going to lie to you. So he gets kicked out of a bar, and he's arguing, leaves. He comes back like 10 minutes later with a chainsaw running.
Oh, my God.
It was the craziest thing I've ever seen. This guy has a chainsaw. And I'm like, I don't know a chainsaw defense. So, but what happened was you learn fast. So he goes into this thing. He's slicing tables. He's running to people. And finally, one of the dudes picked up an empty keg, and he threw it at him. So the basic analogy is this, and the samurais were good at this. So if you got an edged weapon, like a 4-inch knife, well, in order to beat that, you would need like a spear, something longer. You want to have something longer range. So with a chainsaw, though, you're like, well, I don't want to reach for that, And so he took this keg and threw it at him, and it kind of knocked the chainsaw out. Then 3 dudes jumped on him. But I remember going, wow, that would really throw me for a loop if I was in a restaurant and that dude came in. So my thing is this, man. You try to prepare for the most, realistic things. A stick, a bat, a knife. These are things that are realistic. Most people don't attack you with nunchucks. I mean, it could happen, but once again, we try to just keep it real, as they say. Like, what's the most high percentage things that you're going to see, and we try to address these problems.
Now, we have a lot of women, and we also have for the women that are listening, because a lot of people think, I'm a petite woman, I can't fight people. I need to have a gun. That's my only way of defending myself. But how badass do you think Ronda Rousey is? How do you think she would hang with the average guy?
She's a beast, dude. People don't realize her grappling is phenomenal. But no, I think she's awesome. I mean, I think she's light years above pretty much everybody now. But
do you think the average woman can learn enough skill sets to be able to defend herself against the average guy?
Well, yes, 100%. But I will say it's nothing you're going to... Here's the other thing. This seminar is going to be really cool and awesome, but the reality is this. If you just come to this seminar and then in 5 years you have to pull something from it, you probably ain't going to be able to do it. You know what I mean? It's a perishable skill. So what I would recommend is, okay, you do this. You want to continue? Okay, go to Marcus's gym. Go somewhere. Buy a heavy bag in your house. But, practice these things and get that resisting, that live feeler coming at you of a resisting body. Your feelers are so important, man. I always tell people your feelers react faster than your eyesight. And you're going to use your feelers in combatives a lot because the reality is if nobody's touching you, well, just throw your weapon. But you're going to have to get that person off of you. And when you're a female, so you have two styles. You have a hard style and you have a soft style. So a hard style is, your karate, your boxing, anything where you hit them and they hit you. And those are great. Me and you, we love these things. But the reality is this. The problem with the hard style is if you're not hard and you're not big and fast and strong and the other person is 100 pounds more than you, you're not going to fare well in that range. So in three-range combatives, what we do is we believe that mindset, strike hard, strike fast. But if you're getting your ass kicked and the guy's on top of you, you need to switch ranges. Being hard and fast did not work for you. You've got to go to the soft of the wrestling, an arm drag, a duck under, the jiu-jitsu, the shrimp, the technical stance. These are things where, so a soft art for people that don't train martial arts would be, okay, I push into you. As you push back, I don't continue to push. I get out of the way so you move by me. I always tell people it's like what Steven Seagal does, except this really works.
Now, Chad, for people listening that are in their 40s, 50s, 60s, and older, is this a seminar that they should do?
I mean, here's the thing, and like I said, I'm 44, man. I don't get to roll as much as I used to. I got bad arthritis in my knees. I've had surgeries, torn biceps, but I don't like excuses, and hey, I'm human. I give them sometimes, but I got to be like, you know what? You're giving an excuse. You know what I mean? We all have problems. We all have injuries, but do what you can. And the reality is, if you're older, you're getting to your pistol, getting to an improvised weapon is your best chance of survival. It just is. You're not going to be as fast and as tough as a 20-year-old kid. You're not going to have that cardio. These are, I wish we didn't get older and I wish we didn't fatigue easier, but this is just how it is, So, for me, and it's a natural evolution. So for me, I used to do a lot of fighting and a lot of hand-to-hand. Now I do a lot more poly, shooting, because I'm realistic with myself. And, the reality is if 3 guys come at me, and I'm with my wife and my daughter, I mean, could I beat them all up individually? Maybe. But that's not how real fights happen. I'm not going to be fighting one guy and the 2 guys are waiting patiently for their turn. It doesn't go down like that.
No, not at all.
Jump on me, 2 guys jump on me, 1 grabs my kid and runs off. I don't want that to happen. So if I could put them behind me and draw my weapon, I'm going to have the best chance of survival. So the thing about a gun is, for me, like, I am a huge, huge Second Amendment supporter. I do not think anybody should tell me how, when, and if I am allowed to defend myself. I am a self-defense expert. I know what's best to be able to defend myself. And a lot of times, a pistol is going to be my best bet. So if you're a female or you're an older person, that's going to be your best asset to be able to get somebody off of you. It's going to be one of the only things that you're going to be able to rely on that's going to actually work. But you have to be able to get to it.
Which is, people can't underestimate the importance of, there's some people just have this idea in their head that they got their pistol on them that automatically means that they're going to have it out when they need it out. And
and like you were saying, man, it's like, like females a lot of times, like when I'm teaching them, and I'm sure you run across the same thing, they think they have to do everything hard and fast. And I'm like, slow down, listen. You're not going to be able to overpower a guy that's 100 pounds more than you. And you kicking him in the groin doesn't always end the situation. I mean, we've all been kicked in the groin. It sucks. But if it was a life or death situation, I'm not going to stop fighting. So, once again, knock him unconscious, minus shooting him or stabbing him, knocking him unconscious, chunking him unconscious. That's the only thing. I love jiu-jitsu, but I'm not going to armbar somebody in a street fight. That's dumb. I'm not going to heel hook somebody. Am I going to break their leg? Maybe they can't move as well. Maybe. But I'm trying to end the fight as fast as possible.
And the last question, Chad. If you could guarantee something, whether it be a characteristic, skill, or mindset that someone would absolutely gain from this course coming up, what would it be?
Well, what I'm going to try to do my best job is, helping everybody in whatever area they need it. I know there'll be a lot of people that have really good areas that they are good in, so that's good. And hopefully you'll end up in that range. I'll help you in the ranges that you need a little improvement on. So for the martial artists, it'll be with the shooting. With the shooters, it'll be how do I get to my pistol using martial art type skills. Once again, like, I don't like when people say, oh, that's martial art. Listen, this is fighting. There are some martial arts that have valuable tools that we can pull from. It's like boxing. If the first time, like when I'm sparring with my pro boxing coach, that's not real. I mean, I'm not going to be out in the street, moving my head, rolling under, hook, cross, but the reality is this. Why do I do that? Well, for that one Chipotle, I'm at Chipotle, and somebody, is yelling at me or they're threatening me and punch at me. I've had thousands of punches come at my head. So this guy's looping punch I see coming from last Wednesday. You know what I'm saying? So yeah. It's not the first time a punch has come at me. So I'm going to be able to relax and remain calm in the midst of that chaotic situation. To where if I didn't have that mat time of sparring, it would freak me out more. So once again, you might not be able to train as much as I do, but I could show you some basic things to be able to stop a punch coming at you. Because, and one of Mike Tyson's, one of my favorite quotes is, everyone has a game plan until they get punched in the face. And, it's true. Everything works better after you punch someone in the face. So, yeah, I want you to do that. The reality is after that, you have to be able to switch to something else, too. So, but on top of that, it's the mindset itself. Like, I'll give you an example. In Virginia, I think they're illegal now, but I went to this gun show, and I got these little, they're keychains, and they look like little bulldogs, and you put your finger in them, and the ears were kind of spiky, and it was that was like you would put it on your keychain, and, you could carry it, and if somebody came at you, you would punch them with it. It was kind of like, a weapon. And I gave one to my mom, I gave one to my sister, I gave one to my wife, and I remember I gave it to my sister, and she put it on. She goes, man, I messed somebody up at this. And then I gave it to my mom, and she goes, oh, I can never hit somebody with this. I love her to death, man. I love her to death. But my point is, she wouldn't be able to really use it. Because if you don't have the mindset, you have to dehumanize that person. This person is trying to take my life. They are trying to hurt my family. You must understand that you need to put that person down hard and fast. And once again, There are laws you have to live by. You have to understand if you're going to hit first, you have to be able to articulate why you did what you did. I always tell people there are 3 parts to every fight. There's the fight with yourself mentally about what's about to happen. There's the physical altercation, and then there's the legal ramifications after. And no matter if you're a civilian, if you're military, or you're law enforcement, you're going to have to answer to all 3 of these, whether it be talking to, internal affairs or talking to a police officer. You're going to have to articulate why you did what you did. But I still believe the calmer you can remain in the midst of this chaotic situation, the better you will be able to articulate yourself. So if a police officer comes up to you and says, hey, what happened? You go, I just went crazy on his ass. He's going to be like, what? But if he comes up to you, sir, I had my hands up. I asked him to step back. I told him if he didn't step back, I would be forced to defend myself. He swung at me. I tomahawked. I clinched, and I threw 2 knees. And then once he was down, I quit hitting him. Well, the cop's going to be like, okay, this guy's squared away. He's good to go. He articulated well why he did what he did. So you must be able to remain calm in order to do these things. So getting the mindset right is like the mind is very strong. And, people, they think it's kind of corny to say, but, it really is. You'll see like a plane crash, and they'll be like survivalists on board, and they'll die. And then like a soccer mom from New Jersey will climb out of a mountain in high heels and walk for 4 days, because I really believe it's the will to live. Once you believe that you're beaten, you're done. So you never, ever, ever stop fighting. I will never concede to, some people say, well, if you're getting attacked, just, cower down, or, it makes me sick when I see people that say they're victims of sexual assault and they say you should, urinate yourself. This is a weak mentality. You fight, and you fight until you have no breath left. I will never concede to cowering down, because the moment you do that, you put the power in their hands.
It's funny you bring that up, because today I saw an ad on the internet. I guess they know what you're into, right? So I saw an ad at the bottom of a website. I was looking at an article, and on the bottom it said 10 things you absolutely must do in a home invasion or something. And of course, it got my attention. And one of the things was, if you have a baseball bat or a gun, unless you're very well trained in it, do not use it. And it said to run and hide. And that's the advice it gave. And I was just thinking to myself, like, what kind of mentality is this? Run and hide.
I'll give you a story. One of the guys in one of the groups that I used to work with, he came one day and he said, Chad, man, because of what you showed me, and he had actually gotten shot, and they were trying to take him away in a vehicle. And he goes, because of the skills you showed me, I got shot, but I was able to keep them off of me, and I was able to escape because of what you showed me. I mean, I still get goosebumps thinking about that. I mean, what do you say to that, man? Like, I mean, you just, that's awesome. That's like the best thing ever, that you were able to help somebody save their life, a good person. And, but his mindset, man, he never gave up. He never conceded. He never said, okay, you got me. And you can never, ever do that.
So I definitely, for the people listening here, this man Chad is definitely an expert that you want to come and train under, and it's a very special opportunity. And, like I was saying earlier, there's a lot of people that say they're experts, and, there's, especially in law enforcement, there's a lot of people in law enforcement that do a lot of training and are very proficient with their firearms. But there are also, enough officers that are not proficient with their firearm. I don't mind saying that because I've seen it firsthand. And
I mean, in their defense, man, they might get like a box of ammo a month. I mean, it kind of sucks for them, and I feel that's one of the problems is, they don't feel confident with their skills. So, that's kind of the only tool that they kind of have to go to. And I want to try to help them.
Because I train a lot of officers, and I've had guys confide to me that prior to coming and training with us, that they were literally shooting only once a year. That they would they have a qualification once a year. Yeah.
Yeah, I wish they could do more. There's a lot of really good people that they're in harm's way, man. Like I said, there's good and there's evil, and I always want to try to help the good people. And there's a lot of good people, and you always hear the sheepdog and the wolves and the sheep. And a lot of people think that you have to be a law enforcement to be a sheepdog. Well, that's not true, because I'm a sheepdog. You're a sheepdog. A sheepdog means this: I'm not a sheep. I'm not going to cower, and I'm not a wolf. I'm not going to pick on people, and I'm not going to be a bully. So if I'm neither one of those, I'm a sheepdog. If I see somebody and I can help them, I'm going to try to do that. But I also want to be able to help myself.
So guys listening on this call, you know, you may not know if the person that's teaching a class down the street is an expert or not. But one thing you can be very rest assured with is that this man right here, definite expert, he's going to be coming down. Now, just so you guys know, the range we're renting is a private range, so that we can do all the cool stuff that Chad wants to do. It's not like your traditional range where you can only, you know, stand in one position and, you know, shoot only one shot at a time. You know, we have a lot more liberties based on what Chad sees. It's up to him, obviously. But my point is that this is not your traditional range experience. This is going to be different. And yeah,
it's looking, like you said, it's going to be fun. We're going to do some cool stuff. If you're looking to take a class that you've really kind of never done before, and it's not going to be your traditional, you know, shooting class or your traditional martial arts class. It's going to be a really cool experience.
All right, guys. So we're going to reserve this event for only 14 people. So we're going to have 7 pairs of 2, and we already have about 6 seats booked up already. So we're already almost halfway through, and these things are definitely going to fly. So if you'd like to reserve a spot, send me an email, reply to this email with your name and phone number and how many people you'd like to reserve, and we'll give you a call. Or you can give us a call at the Miami Shooters Club. The phone number is 305-551-0100. You can also send a text to that number as well. And again, the number is 305-551-0100. And this is going to be a first come, first serve. This will definitely sell out. I only sent out one email before this, before I sent out this interview, and that first email we got 6 people reserved. So after these interviews go out, I'm sure that we're going to be sold out. So guys, take advantage of that and get to work with Chad LeBrun himself, and we'll have a great time. Chad, this was awesome, very in-depth. There's a lot of great stuff just from this call alone, a lot of stuff that people can really think about. Anything you want to say before we conclude the interview?
No, sir. Thank you for having me, and look forward to seeing you guys.
Thank you very much.
All right. Bye-bye.